In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. Just two of us today. I am Amit. That is LC, our rugby expert, Wizards expert, and we're going to be touching on those two topics today. Old Glory DC got their asses handed to them in their second game against the Austin Gilgronis or Gilgronis. Still don't know the pronunciation. 57-12 in Austin on Saturday night. Brutal result. We're then going to talk about the Wizards, who made a number of moves on deadline day in the NBA. The biggest name coming in, Kristaps Porzingis. We actually did a video earlier on what his addition could do for the team, but at the time we had Russell Westbrook. So we're going to talk about the differences here, how we see the Wizards moving forward, and then we're going to conclude with the Super Bowl recap. It was a great game. I really enjoyed it. Some of the commercials were very fun. Halftime show to talk about. We're going to get into all of it, but we got to begin, LC, with the absolute ass whooping that was Old Glory DC losing to the Austin Gilgronis for the rest of this podcast. 57.
Yeah, we'll just go with that.
Yeah, just going with that. We still don't really know what it is. 57-12. This was a blowout from the start. LC, you're the expert here. What happened?
I mean, it took 30 seconds to be losing, I think. So it was kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
They received the ball. There's tackle. They make one pass. They make two passes. Breakaway, score. It literally took
ball
time.
game. It was basically over.
That's it. Everyone was just like, fuck. Horrible start. I mean, I think it was 3 tries in 12 minutes. And you could just tell that there was just already a sense of defeat, that's it. We're not getting this back. We got 70 minutes to go, but I don't know why. So yeah, definitely a very disappointing. I mean, the first half was just terrible. There was I don't know that there was anything positive to rescue in the first half for Old Glory, and it's really hard to come back from a game like that on the road, and especially again when you could just tell that the team is already deflated from the first try. So I don't know really what happened mentally. I know that Austin is supposed to be a really good team, and so maybe they just came in thinking this was going to happen, and then this happened. Sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy there, but really, really hard game for Old Glory. I think the best thing to do is to just completely forget about that right now. Try to think about the home opener, think, okay, now we're going to play in our stadium. Things, going to turn around here. Maybe we have some advantage we can play here, but that was one for, just if you're an Old Glory fan, you did not need to watch that.
In the immortal words of Ted Lasso, be a goldfish, Old Glory DC, because that was one of the, I mean, I'm new to rugby. LC and I actually watched the game together, and he managed to explain a few things, including what an ass whooping looks like in rugby, because Austin gave you, I mean, I could not even begin to tell you. It felt like watching the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters, where Austin did whatever they wanted to. The commentators tried to, I think, soften the blow. They were like, hey, one of the keys to the game for Austin, don't underestimate Old Glory DC. And I'm not sure they took that key and did it because it didn't
overestimate.
Yeah, if anything, I think they were over prepared for our. We are. I don't know why I'm shitting so much on Old Glory DC, because we are representing them in this podcast. But it was a blowout, though. I mean, really there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was a tough game, but they did score 12 points in the second half, so something, I guess. But yeah, like you said, we gotta just move on from that game. Next game is Friday.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is that just like in the first game of the season, I think the concerning part is that it wasn't like Austin was fighting super hard to score, and sort of Old Glory put it all out there and really just got outplayed or something. It was, for the first few tries at least, it was relatively easy for Austin to just break away.
Oh yeah,
score. There wasn't, it wasn't like we put up our best resistance and then they managed to bravely overcome it. It was just they made a few passes, they're gone. It's just too easy, simply just too eeasy for any team to do it.
And they also had a couple different, I can't remember if they're backs or wingers, but that had such long strides that it looked like they were, the fullback. It looked like he was just jogging, and we just could not catch the guy. We couldn't. And then he effortlessly tossed it. Try. Done.
I'm pretty sure he got a player of the match, fullback for Austin, and
He did.
Here's the cool. I was just looking up the picture. The cool thing is, if you're a player of the match and you're playing All Glory, and if you're in the other team, you get a bottle of whiskey. So that's pretty legit.
That is legit.
So, good for him.
And we did have one of our players just smiling and pointing at him like, good job, you won man of the match. So rugby still is that very inclusive community. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that there's much more to be said, honestly, about that game, though. So
rough,
the takeaway was it was brutal. Austin's really good.
Home opener coming, though. Home opener coming. So.
Home opener coming this Friday, 8 p.m. Games on NBC Sports Washington against the New England Freejacks. So an opportunity to get a win, because Old Glory DC have had 2 games on the road and lost both, but finally at home at Segra Field, maybe that changes things. So again, NBC Sports Washington Friday, 8 p.m. Looking forward to it. I'm still growing as a rugby fan. That was a bit discouraging. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, if you want to be a rugby fan, I'll tell you, the Six Nations is so good. Most of the games have been super close. Yeah. Nail biters. So if you like the sport, check it out.
Okay. So you can see some closer games, fewer drops, things like that. Why don't we move on to the Washington Wizards, who had at the very end a very active trade deadline with about half an hour to go. No moves have been made. We had no idea what was going on. Everyone was following the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade, and people were like, I guess that's gonna sort of be it. Maybe the Lakers will do something. They didn't. And then the Washington Wizards started making moves. And the very first move announced was Montrezl Harrell going for Vernon Carey and Ish Smith. And then we thought, great, we're even worse. We didn't even get a pick for that. So finally, we're active. Sarcastic applause for Tommy Shepard. And then the big one came through. Kristaps Porzingis from the Dallas Mavericks and a second-round pick for 2 of our worst contracts, and Davis Bertans, who might be the worst contract in the league. You can make that argument. And Spencer Dinwiddie, who was signed this past offseason, and it just hasn't really worked out. So I give Tommy Shepard a lot of credit there. Let's key in on this trade, LC. What are your thoughts on the trade now that we have Porzingis, an all-star caliber player and a previous all-star, paired with Bradley Beal for the future potentially?
So, looking at the Wizard team, I was checking out the ages, right? And everyone is 24 to 26 with a couple of exceptions. And so I think, including Porzingis, who we know has already proven that he can play at a very, very high level. So it's a team of potential. I think it's a matter of realizing that potential, which is obviously the hardest part. Right. But it's definitely a team that has a lot to look forward to. And, can this new coach make it happen? Can Bradley Beal be a leader, or do we need to bring somebody who is like, hey, all you young folks, like, let me lead you into victory? I'm not sure of that, but I think that Porzingis fits with this idea of getting a young, very solid core that you can form into a team of stars. Do we have full stars right now? I mean, no. Bradley obviously just went through surgery, and Porzingis is coming back still in some way from injuries. He's not fully healed. Even the other day, he missed a game for a bruised knee. So it's a little bit we know he can do it, but we also don't know if he will do it again. So it's a little bit tricky to assess his future.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Porzingis, which I think plenty of reason to be excited. I mean, again, you see him, he's a very dynamic, exciting player. He's not always available, right? So when we say he's coming back from something, well, he's always coming back from something. Right. And so I can understand the concerns there. The reason I really like the trade, first off, you get rid of those contracts. And yes, Porzingis comes in, and yes, he's got a big contract, but I do think this actually provides flexibility on what path would you like to go, Tommy Shepard. If you have Porzingis and he's healthy and he plays really well, that can go one of 2 ways. You can keep him with Bradley Beal and maybe find that third star, or his value just increased. You can ship him off, and now all of a sudden you can create the cap space necessary to be able to make moves in the future and continue building on this young nucleus that LC has mentioned right here. Bradley Beal has a player option this coming summer. So we'll see if he exercises that and chooses to stay, or if he chooses to opt out in hopes for a bigger deal from the Wizards, right? He can get that 5-year, I want to say $235 or $245 million deal from the Wizards. or he goes to a contender. He wants to win now. When he talked about Russell Westbrook leaving, he was like, Russ is in year 13. He wants to win now. That's why he went to LA. Brad's not year 13, but he is getting older and maybe he does want to go somewhere. So, but it does provide that flexibility. My question, LC, is in which direction do you think we're going to end up going? Do you think we're going to blow it up, or do you think hey, we really like this and we're going to build on this?
I think so if the scenario of what you mentioned, which is like Porzingis, becomes the Porzingis we know he can be, I don't think it will make so much sense to ship him off. Like now that we know, we finally got a guy that we like and we can like,
right.
I don't know that will make so much sense. If Bradley is staying, right? Like, I think if you can make that happen, then I would bet on that making it happen. And especially if you finally get Porzingis to be like comfortable with your team, with your coaching and etc. I think, it's a little bit of also banking on someone like at least one of these young guys kind of having one of those breakaway seasons. It could be Kuzma. It could be KCP, who's a little bit older. It could be Rui, who knows, right? But I think it's kind of banking. I'm trying to think of a little bit like the Raptors team that won the championship,
Sure.
That
Siakam had that huge year all of a sudden.
It's right. Like nobody before the season was betting that Siakam was going to be an integral part of a championship team. Like, I don't think he did. And,
right.
And so like, I think it's a little bit of not banking on that, but kind of hoping on that. And so if you have Porzingis, if you have Bradley Beal healthy, and one of these guys gets a breakaway season, we can make something work. Otherwise, I think the Wizards would be in best shape to maybe ship a couple of those really promising young guys for an already well-known star,
right,
to be that third piece. You'll probably end up with a not very deep team, right? You probably have 5-6 players who can play and just hope everyone else gets garbage minutes. But there isn't too much else to do, especially with Bradley Beal being on a quicker timeline where you kind of need to decide whether to ship him for value or lose him for nothing. So I think it's not easy. It's a tough one, and it may hinge on how Porzingis plays in this season.
Yeah, actually, that's a really, really good point you made about the order of operations. Because if Porzingis is playing really well, you probably want to keep him unless Brad's leaving, right? Because if Porzingis doesn't play well, then he's just an injury-prone guy that probably no one's going to trade for on the contract he has. So the only way Porzingis leaves is if Brad leaves, and that's a really good point to make over there. So let's see. So we've got Brad. Let's say we keep Brad, we keep Porzingis. Sure. And we trade, a couple of those guys. Is there a certain star you have in mind, or at least a certain position that you have in mind that we should address on the court? For me, it would be point guard. If we could find a really nice point guard. People are talking about Ty Washington in the draft. Go ahead.
And not, obviously you got to get someone who's good at basketball, but
that's a great start.
A leader would really be necessary. I think this team, Kadeem has talked about Excellent it. Like point. This team needs somebody who says, I'm going to come in and I'm going to take you guys to glory. Obviously LeBron's not coming, but like we need like somebody with that attitude of saying like, wherever I land, it's going to be my team and I'm going to make you all better by me being here. And I don't know who that is. I don't know who has the interest of coming and has that attitude. I don't know. Maybe we can get Bronny Jr. so LeBron comes in.
You want to know what I want more than anything, which won't happen, and I know I'm biased, and it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I want the Rockets to buy out Wall's contract, and I want John Wall to come back with Bradley Beal, with Porzingis. The city loves John.
Like we're running it back.
Why not? Why not? I would go to so many games. Like it wouldn't even be funny. I would love to watch those three together. But yeah, more realistically, it depends. If Porzingis doesn't play much, there is a very good chance we can get a high draft pick and be able to pick up that point guard in the draft. And then you could always ship him.
Then you got to develop. It's just
that's
just
what
feels
a lot
like
of the Wizards fans are
the
talking
potential
about.
Game.
Right. The Wizards fans are always saying, us included, like, well, what's the direction? It's really hard to know the direction. Are we blowing it up or are we building for right now?
And what year are we being good?
Yeah. And so just to say that those arguments and thoughts are still very valid. And we're going to see what happens, but it's going to occur this summer. In the meanwhile, just enjoy the games. Porzingis is going to start playing very shortly. They're hoping he can get a game or two in before the All-Star break. He'll certainly be available after that. So we're going to see what happens. It's nice to see the young guys get minutes, though. Like Kispert's starting to get minutes. Hachimura was always going to get minutes, but he is. Avdia. I mean, it's cool to see these guys play together, get wins. They just beat the Pistons. I know they're an up-and-coming team as well with Cade Cunningham, but nice to see them put some wins together, including against the Nets. Looking forward to it. Yeah. There was one more trade that confused me and LC a little bit, and it's because we don't know quite what the term means. So Aaron Holiday was also moved for cash considerations. Now, if any of you
report that, it's tax season. Like,
if any, I've tried to read about cash considerations. If any of you really know what it is, please let us know. Like, because is it actual cash, or is it just cash you keep moving around in trades and it's not real? I don't understand. What the heck's a cash consideration? We
have no idea. I sincerely don't understand. And also, like, does that mean that the money? Because you read something about like it doesn't count towards the salary cap.
It does not. I know that much.
Paying it to somebody? Is there a bank transfer? Like, I need questions.
Is Ted considering the cash right now? Is Wes looking at the cash and considering the possibilities?
You get a plaque that is like, consider this cash, and like it just tells you the amount. Like, what is it and what is it for? I mean, I know what cash is for, but like, what is this for?
As of right now, we can't rule anything out. It could be anything.
The article we read said it could have included as a sweetener, but so like, is it just like, it's nice to say like, hey, here's some cash considerations. So like, just
sounds kind of nice, right? It's like, oh, we got some cash considerations.
And then when you get it, you're like, I don't know what to do with it, so I'm gonna like ship it to the next trade that I do, and I'm gonna give them a cash consideration.
So we're reading about. We're spending a lot of time on cash consideration. Well,
I don't know what they are.
I don't know. I just want to know. So apparently, it can be used to like buy a draft pick, for example, in the second round. Right? You see that happen quite a bit.
That means like I give you a new cash consideration, and you give me a draft pick.
And then what do I do with the cash?
Right? What do you do with it?
I don't know. How many cash considerations are out there in the league right now, just floating? Does everyone have one right now?
They're Bitcoin. I think you're right.
We were talking before this. This is maybe just crypto. Maybe we invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum. I have no idea. We're not about to explain that stuff. Also, we can't. And so, anyway, happens every week now. Need to clear my throat. We're gonna move on. That's enough of that. Let us know if you know what cash considerations are. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. Something just about everybody watched. It had record numbers. Once again, the Rams and Bengals played a fairly entertaining game. There were moments where both offenses were stagnant, but then near the end, you saw Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp, game on the line. The MVP of the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, came up big over and over and over again. It was a lot of fun. Elsie, we watched that game together. What were your thoughts on the game? Did you think that the right team won? There were a couple soft penalties. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, heartbreaking for anyone who's an Ohio fan, but yeah, I mean, I think the touchdown, the second touchdown it was a clear face mask. Like, probably didn't deserve that one. So yeah, at the end of the day, like not too bitter about it's not like a team that cheated won or anything like that. But I think it was an interesting game for an observer who doesn't truly care who won the game. I was like, sure, it was a fun one all the way to the end. Would have loved to see the last drive be a little bit more of a nail biter, but whatever. I guess the defense has to do what they got to do. They don't live for the drama; they live for winning. So that's fine.
I think one of the things that hit me was when Eminem was going on to perform at halftime. Well, first off, Detroit, that connection. Can't help but think about Matt Stafford. And when he's saying, when you have one shot, one opportunity, he's talking about it, right? And I'm thinking, this is about Matt Stafford. Like, this is 12 years of losing in Detroit. And now he's here with that one shot, one opportunity.
Matt Stafford was in the locker room listening to the coach, whereas the kicker was actually listening to the
Evan McPherson is the people's champion. I mean, who doesn't love that?
I love that.
Rookie kicker from Florida ties the NFL record for field goals made, a perfect 14 of 14 in the postseason. And he was out there just enjoying the show. I mean, he was like, I'm not missing this. Are you kidding me?
I got nothing to improve.
One of the coolest moments, I think, in any Super Bowl, because he reminds you that it's just a game, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's really dialed in and he's like, you know what? I'm the kicker. I'm the hotness right now. Everyone loves me. I'm going to raise my popularity a bit more because I want to see this concert. And what is a coach going to tell me? Make my kicks. I'm doing that. So he's killing
what would you like me to work on at halftime?
Oh, when he just like is on the bench and just goes and is smiling. I mean, dude, people's champion, Evan McPherson. He's a winner to me.
He did what we all would have done. Absolutely.
Absolutely. What did you think of the halftime show?
Halftime show was fun. I mean, I don't know, for some reason I kept thinking like, oh, people who are not looking at this straight up, like probably can't see shit, but like, why do I care? I didn't pay hundreds of dollars for a ticket, so that's fine. But no, it was really entertaining.
Dollars for a ticket.
Yeah, right. Well, I was thinking the nosebleeder maybe. Actually, I don't know. Maybe that's still like thousands of dollars. I really don't know.
It's like $5,000 even for a nosebleeder.
No.
Oh, this is news to you.
Real.
Oh yeah. This is not for the people.
$5,000?
This is not for the people. This is for the. Oh yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Oh yeah, and that's for the worst seat in the house.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Okay.
It is.
Yeah. Fun show for sure. For us, the peasants paying cable. Like being like, fuck, cable is expensive. Like, just to watch it on TV. Right. But no, definitely a fun show. Like, songs bringing people back. And obviously it was in LA. There was an LA team there. Like it was just, felt very, all very connected. So really fun. I loved it.
I loved it too. I think everyone on social media that was like, this is the best halftime show ever. I don't think that's true. I think you maybe wanted it to be. And in terms of production, they put a lot on, and that was fun. But best one ever? I don't know.
That's a high bar.
Yeah, that is a high bar, because
as someone who really watches the Super Bowl only for the ads and the halftime shows, like that's a high bar.
Now there were some good ads. The Larry David ad I really enjoyed, where he's just shitting on all these future brilliant ideas. I thought that was a really good one.
I like the Jones one.
The Jones one? Which one?
Yeah, when the Jonas brother shows up.
Oh,
he's like, try to keep up
Jonas
whoever you are.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Keeping up with the Jonases. Yeah. I really enjoyed that as well. I was hoping to see the Apple commercial with the, you know what I'm talking about? Where the guys in the background and they're in the stakeout. I thought that was Super Bowl worthy, and they've shown it a bunch during the playoff run, but it did not actually air during the Super Bowl. I thought it was a brilliant commercial from Apple. But overall, back to the game. Very good. I think the right team won. And they overcame adversity in the loss of Odell Beckham to a torn ACL, as it turns out. He tore his ACL. No. Yeah, he tore his ACL. And
it's a good time to do it, I guess.
Yeah, in front of everybody. In the Super Bowl, after you've already caught a touchdown, look like you're going to go for 200 yards. I mean, the Rams still have a couple holes. Ben Skoranek cannot catch the damn ball. I mean,
is that number 18?
That's number 18. Oh my God. You could tell the difference immediately. The moment Beckham went down, Skoranek's number was called. Once, pick, one more time as a 5-yard out, and it was like, now block for the rest of the goddamn game, because we are not trusting you with this ball. You literally
a lot of pressure, man.
It is a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure. But overall, the game was a blast. Looking forward to the Washington Commanders becoming Super Bowl champions at some point. First, we need to get Dan Snyder out. We're going to see what happens over there with Congress and all the documents and stall tactics. If you want reality TV, just follow the NFL.
C-SPAN.
Dan Snyder pointing fingers at each other. Yeah, go to C-SPAN. You might actually see some interesting stuff. Not to make light of the sexual harassment stuff, but in terms of just the complete miscommunication between the NFL, the Commanders, and then their sort of stall tactics with Congress, that stuff is hysterical.
I mean, it's and it looks shady too, right? Like the NFL not releasing the report, like pointing fingers at each other, being like, then the Commanders saying like, we never told anyone not to release the report. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well, what if you in the affirmative told them to release the report? Well, we didn't do that. Well, did we?
Okay.
They're still thinking about
Yes,
that.
it's like,
They're going to think about that for years, right?
yeah, definitely shady. Like it doesn't smell good at all. So
Yeah.
And you know, that fits the profile as well. So it's not like we don't need to be convinced that something iffy went down, right? Like that's an assumption, I think, and most likely a correct one.
Absolutely. Last thing before we conclude the show, LC, I sent you a tweet of Andres Cantor at the Super Bowl. Did you see that he was watching a Boca game while he was at the Super Bowl?
I don't know how much you paid for that ticket, but yeah, you can't miss it.
It sounds like he would have paid an extra $1 to go see Boca live instead, because that man was streaming while the game was going on.
It was also like Boca's like shitty like Argentinian league season opener. It was like it wasn't like a Libertadores Cup game or something. It was just their first season game. Like nobody cares.
The LA Rams, basically a home Super Bowl, and Andres Cantor is just like, what do we have here? Watching Boca Juniors in their opener. There's a certain football that seems to be king. That's all. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say there. But hey, this was the show, guys. This is District Divided, a DC sports podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. We're hoping for the best with Old Glory DC. Again, they play this Friday, 8 p.m. on NBC Sports Washington against the New England Freejacks, and for the Washington Wizards, who have made some moves. They're playing their young guys. Wes Unseld Jr. still in his first season. We'll see how it continues to progress. Would love to see Porzingis play a few games just from an entertainment standpoint. And hopefully we can also get a high draft pick at the same time. And hope you guys enjoy the Super Bowl. Keep up with the best reality TV show going on right now and keeping up with the Snyders and the NFL. And we will see you guys next week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Take it easy.